Hello everyone, welcome to another NASCAR Thunder 2004 modding video. In this one we're going to take you through a couple of the new features in version 1.5 of the ModMaster tool. As you may know from the thumbnail, or if you tuned into the stream at all over the weekend, then you'll know about the really cool new feature, which is great for streamers and video makers, but also still kind of fun for the regular player as well, is the Scoring Pylon. And we'll take you through to that. We're going to end on the Scoring Pylon, but I'm going to take you through everything else that is available in this update. If you're new to the channel, by the way, I recommend checking out the 2024 video for how to use this mod tool in general and how to install packs and all that stuff, and then come back here if you want to learn how to use the new features. I am working on a website that will have everything you need to know about it. It'll kind of be the one-stop shop for going through the tool and learning about things you haven't messed with it, or if you're brand new, etc., etc. So that'll be coming eventually. It's going to take a while to do, and I'm going to have to take a break from developing the tool in order to actually get that site going a little sooner than later. But in the meantime, we're going to cover just the new features for 1.5 today, and if you're new, check out the 2024 video. I think it's the best one. And if you have issues beyond that, join our Discord. Links in the description. Discord's the best place to ask questions or message myself to get some assistance if you can't find any particular thing. But ask the community first. Try to see if anyone can help you quickly. If not, I'll get back to you as soon as I'm able. Alright, let's get into the new features. First thing we have is a couple more options for the paints. This is pretty much the same as it was. You can either force people to default paints, randomize the paints, or manually select. The manually select, when you load a pack, you actually have to go to the Paints and Data tab, load a driver, change their paint. Of course I clicked on one that doesn't have another paint. Let's load Rusty. Change the paint and then hit apply change to the driver. Now, I know that's a pain. That's not a great interface for manually selecting paints, but there may be something in the future for it. However, this is just one way to do it for the moment. Otherwise, you could force them to their default, or you could randomize them. The randomization, something did change in that. I'll cover it quick. This won't pertain to most people watching the video, but anyone making a mod pack or editing a mod pack, you can change the percentage chance of a paint scheme appearing, and that's via this column here. Another small part of the update, the in-game car versus what MRN says, because in the 1990 pack, every car is on a Chevrolet, regardless of what it is, and in the 2024 pack, everything's on a Ford, regardless of what it is. But this column here, as long as you specify what you want them to call out and type it correctly, it'll appear. It'll be appropriately applied when the cheats go in. So then the MRN callouts on the starting grid should be, if they have the dialogue for it, it'd be their sponsor and then a Pontiac or whatever is in this column here. And coming back to the percentage thing, so I have the Country Time Lemonade car for Bobby Hamilton set to a 75% chance of appearing, and just his other ones, Diamond Ridge, the Frame Miller, and his on-sponsored, a lot less chance. You could change this if you want his chances to vary more, but I figured he drove this car a majority of the time anyhow, so that's kind of why I did it. I feel like he ran one race with each of the other schemes. I may be mistaken, but from what I understand, that's the case, so that's why I did it that way. But that's just one example. If you leave these blank, then it's an even split as far as their chances, and it doesn't have to add up to 100 either. You can throw any sort of numbers in there and it will work. So you don't have to worry about being absolutely perfect with it either if you're editing these files. I removed the track adjustment percentages, the file that's associated with this, from the pack itself, and if you don't have that file existing, when you open the tool it will create that file. The reason I did this is because whenever I was releasing updates, you guys were getting whatever adjustments I was using, versus if you change them, then you want what you're using. So those should be good to go and won't overwrite when you download an update anymore. After you finalize, there's a new tab available that's Rival Ally Ratings. These apply to season mode or single race, and I know they're not alphabetical and that's a little annoying, but if you just hit the first letter of the names, so like for example, I was looking for Rob Moroso. If I hit R, it'll go through multiple times. I just keep hitting R. It'll go through all the R names. So that's the only way to find them a little bit easily. Don't worry about the numbers after. That's just for a behind the scenes thing. They don't pertain to anything in particular for you guys to worry about. But you select your two drivers you want to have rival or ally, and you set the rating you want, which setting you want, and hit add. And if it already exists and you're like, oh, I meant to make that a rival, you just hit add again and it updates that field. You can auto add teammates. Auto add teammates will apply your current rating. So if I want teammates to only be a 20 for some reason, and you see that Schrader and Rudd, Waltrip and Rudd, Waltrip and Schrader, which are all Hendrick drivers, they updated, as well as these ones here. I have Tim Richmond as a Hendrick driver in my fake season of 1990, but yeah, so if you change its value, they'll either get added to the list or it'll update the ones if they're already there. And also, if you want to remove one, you can remove it. If you want to clear the list, that's what this button's for, just to reset it. And anytime you make changes to stuff like this, you'll want to save the core pack or at least save a sub pack on the finalize tab. But I would say save a core pack for the rival allies. That way it applies every time you use that particular core pack. The rest of the tools we have that are new are on this Live Tools tab. There's a lot of cool features on this one, and it's going to take a little bit to go through, but I promise it's worth it. As mentioned, you guys already know the pylon's coming up, but I'm going to actually start with the pit crew rename. So when you're in career mode, and you can go to this pit crew rename tab, hit refresh from game if you want to pull in all the crew member names, and you can go ahead and change them to whatever you want. Let's see. So video test name is going to be my front tire carrier. I hit apply names, and you have to do this with the game running and in your career mode, if I wasn't clear about that to begin with. But if I go to team management now, you'll see that my front tire carrier is v test name. So his first name is video, last name is test name. It's that simple. So you can load them from the game and then apply them. You know, as you change them in the text box, you'll apply them. If you leave a text box blank by accident, it won't clear the name out. It'll just leave it what it was. So you don't have to worry about doing that by accident. If you come in here when you first load the tool and they're empty, if you hit apply names by accident, it won't do anything. You have the live career rival edit option here as well. You have to be in career mode for this to work, just the same as the pit crew rename. When you hit refresh from game, it's going to load the names based off of what pack you have loaded. If you see blank spaces in here, then you probably have the wrong pack loaded versus the career file you're in. This will not work on the base game 1-to-1. So, you know, all this stuff is meant for the modding. And you'll see that, ironically, I have my dad as a rival at a -10. If I wanted to fix that, make my dad a plus, let's just say, we'll make him a 40 ally, then I update that, and if I move around in this menu, he gets updated. So he's now a plus 40 ally. Now, you technically, I have this limited to 100, I think. Oh, did I not limit it? Oh, yeah. I do have this capped out at 100. Oddly, the game also doesn't take odd values. So if you do an odd value, it's going to go to the nearest even value. That's the game literally has it impossible to get positive numbers, not just because everything's +2 or -2 at minimum, but actually because the way the numbers are stored, they're in multiples of 2. So you cannot store an odd number in the rival ally thing, which is pretty interesting. But That's enough about that. That's pretty straightforward. So if you want to manipulate everybody to hate you, or if you're tired of the game unfairly giving you a rival, well, between races, you could change it if you really want to. A few more things to go over here are in the files themselves. So NT04 data, there will be a folder with the new update that's extra textures. And I only have a 1990 folder with it, but other mod packs might add texture folders here. Now these are backgrounds, most of them. Some are the tires for the cars and the cockpit and things like that. So in order to apply these, you select your extra textures from the drop down, none if you don't want any, but you select your extra textures from the drop down list here, and when you finalize and generate your paints, they will be added in to the correct location so that they get applied. This way you don't have to remember if you're switching between packs, you don't have to manually copy things to and from the replacements folder. The tool will take care of it for you now. You also notice in the main ModMaster folder there's a manual pnatch.txt file. This particular file, it has nothing in it to start, but if you are a bit more advanced and you understand how to do some of the mod codes, or you find a code online or figure one out for changing one specific piece of data, you can enter that code here, and when you generate the pnatch file in the tool, it will apply anything typed in here. Will just apply, will copy into the pnatch file that's used. So you have to make sure your stuff's right if you're doing this. Again, this is for advanced users that want to have extra cheat codes enabled or other elements that are not part of the tool. That said, though, it's most things that are not in the tool are, things that I haven't even figured out. Now, if there's stuff outside of the tool that you guys want added to the tool that cheats exist for, or a way to make it happen, let me know, and maybe I'll add it to the tool if it's a cool feature. But for now, this is available, so you wouldn't have to manually add whatever your custom codes are every time. The player tab also got a couple of small changes, which is in-game car model versus manufacturer that MRN is going to call out, similar to our CSV files. Your paint years here, I think that was there, but I think I forgot the label on it. I'm not 100% sure. I fixed a couple things with the RGB override as far as it automatically applying as many of these elements as I can in career mode. If you know, you know. If you don't, then I would say try to find, oh god, I don't know what video that is, to be honest with you, that I covered the texture file loading in career mode. I might have covered it in 2024, but I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know, hit us up in the Discord if you're struggling with getting all the textures to work. Your car's not going to replace, your pit sign's not going to replace automatically. Everything else, I think, works. The car number in the menu won't work. That's one you have to change manually. So these two and this one, you'll have to change manually after the fact. And I think that's it. Everything else should apply. The pit box, the pit crew suit, your driver's suit, the in-car view stuff, that should all apply automatically as if you use the RGB override. If you don't, then you have to rename all of these files in order to get them to work, so it's a bit more of a pain. That's all specifically for career mode, by the way. If you apply for season mode, these will all work by themselves. There's no fancy tricks necessary for it. The pit crew might not. I don't think I mapped all the pit crews for all the different drivers in the game. I'm not 100% sure on that. I could be mistaken though, but I believe everything works in season mode. I fixed a couple of other small bugs too. Things like leading zero car numbers should get called out correctly by MRN now. I don't know 100%. I actually didn't get a chance to test it with all the numbers, so I don't even know if it'll work with mine or not. But I'll have to find out sometime. If it doesn't work, then I'm sorry, but I'm trying to fix that. It's a little complicated because they don't allow certain numbers for the player like they do everyone else. I know in season mode and everything else that this works, but in career mode it might not. So, like I said, I have to test it yet. The scheduling stuff, I fixed a small bug with this where it would load in the lap override, it used to not update the actual output laps, but now it updates that, so your output laps should be correct. Whenever you save your custom schedules, if you change the laps, that should all work. So the last feature I have to cover here is the scoring pylon, the live pylon, which is, if you were in on the stream, you already saw it, but now you get to see the options a little bit behind the scenes, and I got the keyboard shortcuts working as well. So the main thing is, if you're playing season mode or race now, you have to select what driver you're playing as. And again, this is based off of whatever pack you have loaded at this point. And you select them, and that'll let the code know that you are, driving as that driver. If you're in career mode, just leave it as career, which is what it defaults to. You can also customize what colors you get highlighted as on the pylon when it's visible. And you can also select drivers to highlight. So if there's certain people that you want to mark because they're maybe your allies or points leaders or chase contenders, playoff drivers, whatever. If you want to do that sort of thing, you can check whichever drivers they are. These are alphabetically sorted by first name. Then just go ahead and check those. So I'm just going to check my dad's one and do Brett Bodine just for no reason. And you can again change the colors that they highlight as well if you want both the text and the back color. But the back color, don't get confused by this. The back color of the button is the color you're applying. The text color is just the opposite one. So you can see how it would look white on green there. But if I change this one to black, then you see it's black text on green. This is what it's going to look like for the driver name. So whatever you set this button as is the text color, and I know it changes the background, but that's essentially what it's for. Then once you're on track with a race, now you could fire this up when you're off track. It won't really do anything. It might show the last race you ran or some whatever data is sitting in memory at the time. But it's a really good way, I found out, to find out the finishing order of the last race you ran. If you left the results screen by accident, you can put the pylon up and it'll show you where everybody finished. So it's one of the rare ways to see the last race fully. Now these shortcuts, I wanted to be able to change these, but that took some extra code that wasn't quite working too well as far as tracking what buttons are being pressed, so I just have them as my presets. So the way this works, I'm just going to bring the pylon up, and I know I'm not in a race, but you can see it's highlighting Brett Bodine and my dad's name, and then it's highlighting mine because I'm the player. Actually, speaking of results that are in memory, this is the last race, I believe. Yeah, because I finished really bad at Richmond. But anyway, you can see the names. Let me move this over just to make this nicer. So first of all, this is mostly meant for streamers and video makers. This is just 255 0 255 for the RGB. It's just flat pink, very easy to chroma key out. But if you're playing the game casually and you just want the pylon visible, I'd probably recommend just dragging it off to the right side. I might make this resizable, but right now it's not. It's wide enough that when you put other stats and names and things visible, then you could do that. And actually, I'm going to use the keyboard shortcuts just so I could show that they work. So the names toggle, no stat. If you want to just shut off whatever stats you have up, you just hit Control 2. If you want to show the lap number that everybody's on, you hit Control 3. And if you want to show the rival allies, this only works in career mode, and it is only what their values are before the race started. I could not find where the live rival ally stats are, so I'm a little bit sad about that one, but I decided to leave it in anyway just to show you guys what I was trying to do and show you guys what I was working towards there. You can switch to the best lap by lap time and it'll highlight the fastest lap, or you can change that to speed So lap time or speed, either way, it's a similar stat, but whichever one you prefer, and you can switch between them, between Control 5 and Control 6. I really wanted to get the intervals for this, but unfortunately I have not been able to pinpoint where, and by pinpoint I mean I haven't been able to find anything of where the live interval data is as far as positioning versus the leader. I tried to find it, but it's really tough because the actual decimals, while everything shows to 3 decimal places in menus, the numbers are actually stored as accurately as they can be calculated, and it's a floating decimal point value usually. So depending on how big or small the number is, it may go to more or less decimal points, but either way, the most I can see to try to track it down is to 3 decimal points. Whereas in actuality, the number I'm looking for in memory to find out where this lives is, to a much, much more specific value. So it's really, really hard to try to find this sort of thing. The lap times I just happen to stumble on. They happen to be near where the running order and the lap number data is. So it just kind of worked out that was nearby. But for some reason, the intervals are not. Or if they are, because there was other data I didn't understand there, but if the interval data is some version of that, then it's a calculation of multiple numbers that doesn't make sense to me, because there's other numbers that are just changed constantly and I don't know what they're for, and they don't seem to match up to anything that makes sense to me. But maybe that's the key. Maybe I need to figure that out a little more. But either way, this is what we have right now, and again, you can Control 2 to toggle the stats, and these you can leave the stats up without the driver names. It'll work either way, whether you want the names with or without the stats. So you can do any which way you want to run it. Also, just to note, this updates. I think I have it set to like every half a second. It updates. It might be more often than that. I forget what it was, but my code ran really quickly for updating this. I was worried about it maybe slowing down or taking a second to load info, but it's super fast, so I have it running pretty quickly. But it'll update live based off the game data pretty darn close to real time, so it's pretty accurate to your actual position at that moment. Again, with this drop down, if you're looking for somebody specific, I know this one's not alphabetical. You can just hit the first letter of their name enough times till you find who you're looking for. So I selected Ken Reagan as my driver, so I had to select him there. The only thing is you have to toggle the pylon window off and back on after you've loaded into the track for it to properly reset. Although I do see that's still using the player number, so there's a small bug I have to fix, but that's not too big a deal. So it's gonna have, just to show you guys that this is live, go ahead and start the race here, and there we go. I'm starting 23rd. Now I'm 24th, and it updated. But you can see the people around me are exactly who they're supposed to be in the standings there. Oops, I didn't realize I was shifting. I have no sound on, or low sound. Well, now I got a smoking motor. Jasper Engines, way to go. Real good placement for them. Oh, and we crashed. But as you see that, we're gonna take the yellow like that. As you can see, this works pretty well. And like I said, you can shortcut key it to set it to whatever you want. So I imagine a lot of people who play the game and aren't worried about streaming or anything will probably just put it like this and run the game in this sort of method or something similar. Oh, my motor's not smoking anymore. Interesting. Apparently if you... Oh, I had the repair on, that's why. The auto repair stuff on. Also, while I'm seeing it, if your game's ever a little jittery when you go to play it, you could go... Oh, there's a wreck up ahead. You can change the graphics settings to... yeah, I'll just show you. I'm distracted by the wreck. If you go to your graphics settings and then you turn off and then turn anti-blur back on, just shutting that off and turning that on again will end the jittering that may be happening to some. But yeah, that's the Pylon. That's the big new feature that I think a lot of people were looking forward to. I just got wrecked by my arrival. But I wanted to show that off. I wanted to give you guys a chance to see how to use it here quickly, because I know a lot of people are excited to get their hands on this one. It's a very different feature than I think has ever been done for any NASCAR mods. Is, you know, something kind of outside of the game with some live data from it. But this also opens up some other possibilities of the mod tool doing updates, you know, changing data live. So like you saw with the pit crew member names and stuff like that, it's, you know, it's essentially happening live while you have the game open. The only thing with that is the difference between the cheat codes and the live updating is that the cheat codes force a value to stay whatever it's set to while the cheats are active, and the live updating just changes the value at that moment that that it's applied. So some values, the way the game would work, will get changed back, but that with the stuff that I have set to live, that's not going to happen. So stuff like your crew member names, they don't get reset. Once you save your career with those crew member names, they'll be there regardless of whether you run the tool or not. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the video. If you have any questions or any problems, join the Discord. It's the best place to get a hold of myself or other people in the community who might have an answer for you as far as how to fix whatever you're facing, or how to get things working if you're struggling with something. But either way, I imagine a lot of people are really looking forward to this one, so I'm excited to hear the feedback of what people think of it. And if anybody knows anything about modding games or reading hex data from live games or wants to learn that sort of stuff, I get to absolutely use the help of people digging info out of this game, because if you can find where you know, where the live intervals are, for example, I could easily add them to the mod tool. So if somebody was able to help with that, that'd be great, because I kind of hit a wall a bit with that one. But there's plenty of other stuff. Pretty much anything you can uncover, we can mod it in one way or another, I'm sure. So it would definitely be cool to have some people to help with that. And I didn't realize Petty was next to me. I just stuffed him in the wall. Well, either way, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you guys, well, I don't know when, but I'll be streaming on Saturdays most likely in my career mode for the 1990 mod. So if you weren't around for the first one last weekend, which was actually on Sunday, then be sure to check in and see when we have stuff scheduled on YouTube and Twitch and all that. So thanks again, guys. See you later.